Josh Hamilton, an inspiring story. Josh Hamilton is looked up to by many of us. Just because he's in the MLB doesn't mean he has had a picture-perfect life. He struggled with addiction and had a messed up life, but has an amazing story on how he overcame his addiction. How many of you have ever heard of Josh Hamilton? Well, he plays for the Texas Rangers and wears number 32 on his back. It all started out with a rough journey on his life, as his parents left him alone and went through changes as he played through his career being a major leaguer. He is now one of the most well-known players and the most respected in the MLB of all time. Now let's start with Josh's childhood. In high school, Josh stood 6'4" and weighed 200 pounds. He had great power, coordination, and muscles. Josh ran track, played football, played soccer, and played baseball. He eventually ended up focusing just on baseball. Josh played center field and pitched in high school. He also ran the 60-yard dash, which is from home to second, in 6.7 seconds. During his years of high school, Josh was what you'd say a picture-perfect athlete. Josh's junior year of high school, his fastball was recorded at 96 miles per hour. He was a quick hitter, and he was also a powerhouse at the plate. His senior year in high school, he hit 13 home runs, had 20 steals, 35 RBIs, and 34 runs scored. 2 years in a row, he was honored the North Carolina's Player of the Year. He made the cover of Baseball America while still in high school. Now that you know about Josh's early years, let's talk about how it all got started. Minor leagues and addiction. Heading into the June draft of 1999, he was guaranteed a top 5 pick. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays had the first pick of the 1999 draft. The team picked him up because of his great makeup, which is his ability in many areas or positions on the field. Josh signed for a then record of $3.96 million bonus. He was a once-in-a-lifetime player. He began his career with the Princeton Pirates, which is a Double-A team of the Appalachian League. His season consisted of 10 home runs and knocking in 48 runs. He had 17 steals and a .347 average. Josh opened the 2000 season with the Charleston River Dogs in the South Atlantic League. He finished the season with a .302 batting average, 13 home runs, 61 RBIs, and 14 stolen bases. He was the youngest player invited to the future games. Josh's parents were there for every minor league game. They quit their jobs to travel through the minor leagues with Josh. The Devil Rays were not happy about this, but in the end there wasn't much they could do about it. In February of 2001, Josh and his parents were in a car accident. Josh suffered back injuries and his mother was badly hurt. His parents returned to Raleigh, North Carolina for medical treatment. At 20 years old, Josh for the first time was all alone by himself with lots of time and money in his hands. He began to hang out with the wrong crowd and got into tattoos and drugs. Tampa Bay sensed something wrong and they assigned him to the Betty Ford Clinic. Doctors tried to convince him that his drug problems were because of his inability to grow up independently. He got mad and walked straight out of rehab. In 2003, he failed a drug test and his career was put on hold. He met Mike Chadwick, who was a businessman, and lectured to Josh on about drugs and alcohol, and how he beat them. Mike had a daughter named Katie, who Josh eventually married in 2004, in the winter. Josh convinced Katie he was clean, but soon fell back into his old ways, and was kicked out of their house and eventually moved in with his grandmother. She seemed to be the only one who cared for him. I know that some of you are thinking, why am I talking about this certain man? But many in this world look up to him, and understand where he comes from. Professional baseball and his rise. On October 6, 2005, Josh vowed to give up drugs and alcohol for good. Baseball was completely gone at this point. He had hit rock bottom. He had lost 50 pounds since he had been doing drugs and alcohol. The word that Josh had cleaned up his act had gotten out, and Roy Silver, the owner of the winning inning, asked Josh to join his staff and work his way back into the game. Once, when he was tidying up the bullpen, Josh asked the pitchers warming up if he could toss a few. It had been almost 3 years since Josh had thrown a baseball. He threw the ball, and the ball exploded into the catcher's glove out of anger, coming in at 95 miles per hour. And the college boys looked at Josh in slack-jawed awe. Impossible as it seemed, he still had it. He was given another shot at the pros, getting drafted by the Cincinnati Reds in 2007, and eventually made his way to the Texas Rangers the following year until present. Josh in his amazing career as a Ranger. Josh had an outstanding couple of years with the Texas Rangers, having batting averages of over 300. Also, he had a big factor in helping the Rangers make it to the playoffs 2 years in a row. But they never won. But it's alright. I hope that you found this information on Josh Hamilton really interesting, and I hope that it made you think in some ways. Josh Hamilton is a talented human being who had it all, then lost it all, but was fortunate to get a second chance in life. With his faith in God, he does what he set his whole life out to do, and that was to play professional baseball. God gave him another chance because he knew he would try his best to stay as sober as possible. Like Josh Hamilton says, I am proof that hope is never lost.